Hello, guys. Welcome back to Two Halves, Two Innings Football Podcast. This is me hosting after a while because I've given some Man United fans some chance to just host a few episodes before I come back. You know, so here
No,
I
We're not
am.
professionals.
I know what it is. The reality is, you were sick and tired of the Spurs talk the last episode,
I say I
sick and
had
tired of the
to.
Manchester United talk, and also you drew 2-2, so that's why you
Uh,
come back onto the
Yeah.
middle.
no, I think that's what I
I
told
think
Ajay, we are winning. I don't want to host.
Oh, is that?
no, that's it.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
And probably because the last podcast episode was about 90 minutes, he was probably
Yeah.
pulling the remainder of his hair out with all that editing he had to do. So he's like, nope, you
Oh,
know what? I'm going to
That's it.
host
I
half
need
an
to
hour
host.
quick episode.
we
That's
did
it.
get a
That's
few
it.
messages off him. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. 1 hour plus. 1 hour 5
1 hour
minutes
mark.
plus. 1 hour 10 minutes
You know,
plus.
he was doing the Fergie time. Come on, listen, we're done. We're done.
No, it was a great episode, to be honest. I really enjoyed listening back again or watching back again. But before we start, I would like to thank our sponsors, Davis Optometrists. If you are looking to get special eye care done, please do check out Davis Optometrists. So, guys, welcome back to the show. Special show. I know we've been talking to some of our fans, and they've been asking us to do some reviews, do some, those masala talks, what's happening online, and then we always talk about the previews and reviews. Why don't we talk about what's happening in the football world these days? So, guys, my first question to you guys, to Ajay, let's start with you. You are the youngest one here. You probably know more because me and Amit are a little bit older, but we feel the pain of VAR. Oh my God. What is happening in
Right.
VAR world, Ajay?
Yeah, I think that was one of the kind of burning questions a lot of our fans have been asking is, what do we think of VAR? Has VAR become a success? And I've been listening to TalkSport, pundits all around the country have been talking about VAR. It was meant to be brought in to help the officials make the game smoother, make the game fairer. But what has it done? It's just taken over the limelight. It's become the talking point of every week. No game has gone without some controversy in VAR. When we look at the Man City and Liverpool game that's just happened, did that go, the Van Dijk header, should that have stood? Why was that an offside against Robertson? What was the VAR saying to the referee there? And even if you take an example, in match day 6 alone, there was about 7 major VAR incidences, penalties, non-penalties, even like the Brentford one, which was like a handball. Was it not a handball? There's so much stuff that's happening, and it's just, it's meant to just basically spot clear and obvious errors. It's not meant to do the job of the referee. If the referee says it's a penalty, and if VAR's decision is not to, overturn or referee the game for him, the referee should be able to make a correct call on the basis of what he saw, unless it's a clear and obvious error. It'd be interesting. What are you thinking about VAR? Is its introduction actually bettered the Premier League, or has it made it worse?
But before
No.
before before we say Amit, I want to ask you something regarding Howard Webb, right? He is the leader of that pack of referees, right? And I'm an Arsenal fan. He always refereed Arsenal versus Man United games, and I knew then that there's something not right. And he's been
Yeah,
now
you are shit.
the no,
That's what it was.
no, it wasn't. It was all the Fergie times, it was all the extra times and all the decisions. I remember when we lost that invincible run, a couple of the I know Howard Webb wasn't there, but a couple of decisions then I was like, wow, whoa, what's going on here, right? Anyway, let's not go back that far away, but let's talk about what's happening today. So, Amit, what do you think of actually Howard Webb's performance so far as a chief?
Well, again, with that leadership lens, the leader has to take responsibility for good and bad performances. And I think, as you kind of alluded to, this it's not been a success. What fans were concerned about was that the kind of the pub chat, or the chat that we're having kind of, in our podcast about controversial decisions that will be taken away. And it hasn't. It's actually got worse, but there's no excuse for it. I think technology should be used. Now, I'm all for technology, and in most industries now, technology is leading the
Yeah,
front.
that's
I had a
yeah.
I'm part of my general optical council, and I was on a company's committee today. And again, we're looking at how technology is going to maybe influence how eye examinations are going to be conducted in future. And it's my kind of question really is that there's good to embrace technology, but it's got to be for the benefit of whatever. So in sport, it's got to be for the benefit of the game, and in some sports, it's been brilliant. Like for cricket, I think it has been good. That's our other lens that we look at cricket. But I think football, it hasn't, and the reason why, I think, let's look at kind of this. These are professionals, okay, and the referees are professionals now, not like they were back in the day. And Ajay, you said 7 mistakes in last week. I mean, it'd be interesting because you can't go on feelings, you got to go on fact. So let's look at what they should do is look at how many mistakes on average per week or per match day were occurring pre VAR, and how many mistakes are occurring per average per week post VAR, and let's see the comparisons. And I bet there'll be fewer. It'll be probably either the same, and if it is the same, then I think that we should scrap it and go back to before. Goal line technology, I think that's a good one because it's instant. Okay, it just ruins the drama. People are waiting. To celebrate a goal. Is it a goal? Is it not a goal? And I think
That's it.
just like the way society's going now, we're encouraging people not to use their brains. Generally, I think that referees are not really engaged using their brains because they feel they've got the support of VAR to kind of, if they make a mistake, but it's not happening, is it? It's letting the side down. And I know sometimes it's quite funny when they make a mistake, like Liverpool not getting that goal. But all seriousness though, what we want as sports fans, we want a good equal game, and control the controllables. And the controllables is that players are playing to their peak, they're following the manager's tactics, and they're playing a nice fair game. But VAR is spoiling so many games. It's not. I'm not for it.
I think the main thing that it comes down to, I think the kind of semi-assisted offside technology that they've got, which they kind of use in like La Liga or in the Champions League, I think that's really good, because that pretty much is quite straightforward. If there's a tiny little bit of the player's body, which could be a part of the body that can score a goal, if that's in front of the defender, it's quite easily given as offside. Back in the days when we looked at the lines and they used to draw the lines, they used to look horrible sometimes. They didn't look straight at all. And I think there was a calamity in the VAR decision, I think a season or 2 seasons ago, when it was Tottenham versus Liverpool. And you could clearly see that Luis Diaz, I think, was clearly onside. But the VAR managed to overturn it and say, no, it was offside. And he was like a mile country onside. So I think, that kind of thing is where VAR really struggles. And I think they should just go with what the on-field, referee or the third linesman has said. Like if it's offside, okay, then maybe look at refuting that. But just kind of go with the initial decision. If there's a clear and obvious error, then you need to alert the referee. No, you need to look at that back. When we looked at the Man City Liverpool game, the tackle on Jeremy Doku by the goalkeeper, the referee didn't give the penalty. It was only after a while where he had to get instructed, go look at the screen. So again, that might be taking away a little bit of the judgment by the referee, because they think, okay, the players are kind of going at me for a bit. They're thinking it's a penalty. Let me just wait till VAR has a bit of conclusive evidence, and they can say, okay, go to the screen. So they're not really not using their eyes, or they're saying, like, actually, look, I should have seen that myself. That was a touch.
I don't think they're doing consciously. Yeah. I think it just happens subconsciously. If you think about it, I think all 3 of us have got automatic cars. Before we'd be a little bit more engaged when we're driving. Like another example I use is, we all use sat nav. Now, I know where I'm going. I'm using sat nav to look at traffic, but I'm not really observant on the road, so to speak, as before, because I'm just before pre sat nav, I'll go somewhere and I'll remember it. Now I won't, because I'm just so reliant on technology. I mean, that's the same thing, isn't it? We're reliant on technology. You just, as either consciously or subconsciously, it really starts to affect how you think.
Xhaka scored. Guys, sorry, while we're recording this podcast, England game is going against Serbia, so Xhaka scored. Come on now. Anyway, but but I agree with you both. Yeah. No, it wasn't. But
no, it's remember, it's not Arsenal playing, it's England, Ajay.
What if it was Rice assist? I don't know, but we'll find out. But anyway, guys, I totally agree with you. But we have to think this way as well, right? End of the day, it's very subjective. VAR works when there is no subjective thing, is very objective, clear cut and clarity, like goal line technology or offside. But when there are decisions are there for subjective decisions, it's again end of the day, technology is there, but who are using it? Humans, referees. They are using it. They're gonna bring their subjective self in there. Say, okay, this is offside. This is no offside. I remember Ajay, when you mentioned Liverpool goal chalked off because they forgot to draw the lines. The same happened with Ivan Toney as well against Arsenal. And we drew that game and we lost the league because they forgot to draw the lines. I mean, how can someone forget to draw the lines? That is their job, But again, end of the day, it's still humans. The same referees who are refereeing in the game and then sitting back in the VAR room. This is what I don't agree with because,
Yeah, but
I mean,
Rohit,
if
then
the
it's
case
just
of
simple.
obviously,
You can't. We need to look at the facts, not go feelings. If this is a big thing, I think we need to look at the data in terms of errors as I said before, pre VAR and post VAR. And if it's similar, then I think you should scrap it because it's really look how long games are now. It's not 90 minutes now.
no,
It's
they're getting to
110,
100.
but then it's up to
Yeah.
it's players' fault, isn't it? They don't keep the ball.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Yeah,
But then
There's so many
VAR's contributed to that
substitutions.
length of time as
the
well.
length of
though.
time, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, are you telling me that players have become more devious and managers have become more devious? And yes, I suppose there's more substitutions now than when
There were 5
10, 15 years ago.
substitutions.
It used to be
Yeah.
three back in the day. It used to be
3.
three,
I remember
three,
3.
then
Yeah.
5,
Yeah.
and obviously now whatever.
Yeah.
So okay, so there's a little bit more time there, but I can't see players being more devious now than before because it's more difficult now to be devious because there's so many bloody cameras.
I think if you looked at the progression of the Premier League, I mean, if it was an honest tackle, players would even still get back up. You look at the old kind of 90s replays of the Premier League, and you've got men going in 2-footed tackle, Roy Keane absolutely hammering players above knee height, and the referee would be like, "Yeah, just get up." But even if you looked at like some of Ronaldo's early days, you look how badly like Ronaldo got treated in like his first season, how many tackles he got, how many leg chops he got. And then if you look at players now, I mean, players are going down for just the slightest fingernail touching the cheek, and it's like, oh my god, I've got a detached retina. Like there's so much like dark arts that do happen in the Premier League. I mean, diving, time wasting, kicking the ball away. There's so much that kind of happens because obviously they just want to get an advantage over the opposition. If you're 1-0 up, you want to do everything that you can. Put substitutions on at an awkward time. You want to slow the clock down. Obviously, referees are getting a bit more savvy to it, so that's why the time is added on. And sometimes it works against players. Even like celebrations, how long you're taking for a celebration. So it's good that the referees are adding the time. But my only kind of thing is like, when does enough time become too silly? Like if there's a game that's going on, it's flowed well. Maybe one player's gone down injured, but where does 7 minutes, 8 minutes come from? And we obviously talked about Liverpool.
I think that's what they should do, right?
This is where you gotta go look at. Why is this happening?
Why this is
9,
happening?
10 minutes, like come on.
Yeah, but this is what they should do, like they do in hockey, right? They stop the clock and they show the clock is stopped, and then players can see. At the moment, we don't know where the clock is. Yeah, we don't know actually where the clock is. So if they want to stop the clock, they should show it on the screens and says the clock and the clock stopped. That's it. Then we can see. Then rather than saying how many extra minutes, we can say we need to finish 90 minutes, guys. You are still only 60 minutes, 70 minutes. Then at least there is a transparency between the fans and the players and the coaches and referees. But anyway, so I know if
finish one more point, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
so
please,
back to your leadership question regarding Howard Webb. So I don't know if you guys agree that I don't think he's doing a good job. So what you got to remember, VAR or technology is not just exclusive in football, not exclusive in the English Premier League. Why isn't he going out research? I mean, he may have done, but it doesn't seem to be. Why isn't he going out researching how technology is used in other countries, in other sports? I genuinely don't think that we have the same number of errors in cricket, that we do in football. I can't remember major controversies, and it's the same. You're right. You are right. There's still human element because obviously it's a referee, but I can't. It's quicker. Okay, the decision seems to be happening quicker, and there seems to be a much bigger accuracy. I generally can't remember the last time there was we were talking about a decision in cricket like we do in football regularly. I mean, I may be wrong, but I mean that's my perception.
But I think the two are very different, though. I mean, if you look at how DRS is used in cricket, I mean, all you have to look for is if you suspect an LBW, has it touched the bat? Okay, no, you've passed that.
It's very clear. There is a clarity.
Is it a fair ball? The foot's behind the line. Is it a fair delivery? And then obviously, is that pad in front of the wicket, and would that ball then go on to, because it's using a simulated trajectory, then you can't dispute that. And then obviously that decision is final. But then obviously it can go to umpire's call. So there's very strict categories. Whereas if you've got a handball incident in the penalty box, same with Liverpool and Real Madrid. Real Madrid defender, arms are clearly below, they're not above head height or anything like that, but the ball's come to him and braced his right hand, but then they've not given it as a penalty. They're not giving it at all. So
very subjective, isn't it?
And you have to. You're very subjective. You either have to say any contact, below the elbow, wherever it is, it's a handball. And if it is in the box, then it's a penalty. Clear. Even if the hands are up in the air or the hands behind your back, if it touches anything below your elbow, then it's just a straight-on penalty. So that's where the criteria has to be for VAR, where it's we have to be very hard. Not like, it makes this certain movement away from the ball. Is this person interacting in the way in front of the goalkeeper? Same with like how Robertson's was. If he had to move out of the way, then clearly he's in an offside position. It's obstruction. There you go. End of it. End of story.
I want to add one point here as well, Ajay and Amit. You remember in cricket, why we say, imagine when we get referees go to third umpire and say, if somebody caught the ball or not, because they dived and then the ball was really close to the ground, and then they actually see a lot of time, because it's very subjective. Then for someone it's a caught and ball, for someone it's not a catch, because it's very subjective, because we watching the 3D game in 2D cameras by 2D cameras, so it's very subjective then. And then we always have a discussion, was it a catch or was it not? So if you say football is very, very subjective on all of the decisions. Somebody nicked if somebody touched the ball or not, a goalkeeper touched the ball, but still, like Jokeras one, the penalty was given on field, but taken away by VAR, because goalkeeper
that's a very good point
ball.
Both you and Ajay have made. But a lot of the decisions are about intent. He but how can you prove you're making an assumption that he intended to foul that player,
Exactly. And I think it should only be used for offside and goal line technology. That's it. Let the referees on the field take the judgment like it used to before. Where there's a clear cut, that's it. Nothing else. Anyway.
And the only last thing I would say is red cards. If the referee's given a yellow card for a tackle, then and he's deemed that, it's below shin height, it's below knee height, and the studs are kind of not showing all the time, not all showing, then if that's a yellow card, they should go with the referee's on-field decision. Then if the VAR can't see any, intent of endangering the player, or the studs are, exaggeratedly too high, that's another thing I would probably say with VAR. They need to be more cutthroat with regards to keeping with the referee's decision, because a lot of the times you see yellow cards upgraded to red cards because it's slowed down, and because when you slow down things, it looks worse than in real time.
That's true.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
So just to summarize, I think for this, what I'm hearing from the three of us is really that we need to do what they're doing in hockey in terms of stopping the clock when balls out to play or using VAR technology. We need to have clarity in terms of the rules. Ajay, that you talked about handballs. What actually constitutes a handball? So, i.e., therefore, what constitutes a penalty? If it's in the box. We should be using VAR technology only for goal line technology, offsides, and red or yellow cards.
Just for red cards, pretty much it. Yeah. So now moving on, guys. We've been watching a lot of media narratives these days regarding boring football and all the things going on. Right?
Arsenal gate.
Obviously, Arsenal. I don't want to say, because since yesterday, I've been hearing about Lewis Kelly's exclusion in England squad, and saying, he should be playing, otherwise he shouldn't be going to the World Cup. And then everyone jumping on the bandwagon, saying on Twitter, he should be playing, he should leave Arsenal, blah blah blah. I think, bloody hell, guys, calm down, right? Anyway, that's I don't want to continue on that. But talking about boring football, Amit, do you think football been boring in this season?
I don't think so. There was an era that obviously with Klopp, Jamie Carragher said the other week that the best game ever was
God.
that 2019 Liverpool or Man City Liverpool, whichever. I can't remember which way around it was, but
it was that period. Yeah.
And it's the game of the false nines. What a load of BS. Absolute. The thing is, have people forgot that there was actually games, one before the Premier League. Okay, football didn't start in 1992,
92, exactly.
or whenever the Premier League started. There was actually football's been going on for a very long time. And you're telling me some of the great Liverpool teams of the past. The Leeds teams when they were kind of riding high,
And
Forest when they
Nottingham
won
Forest,
the league,
yeah,
etc.
exactly. Yeah.
And even Arsenal, Arsenal,
Yeah.
there were so many.
Yeah.
I mean, the one game that stands out for me as a neutral was the 4-3, Liverpool versus Newcastle at Anfield when basically
Yeah,
Newcastle ended up losing the
Newcastle.
title to Manchester
Yeah,
United. But the drama, but the point is though, it's not just what was his definition of the best game ever? Was it tactics? Was it the intensity the game was played, or was it? I mean, I suppose it was the intensity because that was Klopp's high press team, or was it the passion or what it meant? So I mean, I just thought
yeah.
to call it the best game ever. I mean, come on. I mean, just get over it.
Ajay, what are your
That's like
thoughts?
they're saying like it's the greatest rivalry ever. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
That's
not the
another
greatest
thing.
rivalry ever.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
think either.
I'm not being funny,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying this because we're Arsenal,
No.
Manchester United fans on this podcast, but I would say kind of the Wenger and before Jose Mourinho
Fergie.
came on the
Before
scene,
Jose Mourinho came in, yes.
the Fergie Wenger kind of, we were
Yeah.
constantly battling for kind of the title, and we had
Exactly.
some great, I was
Yeah.
very fortunate. It's not the title, but I was very fortunate to have gone to the 1999 semi-final when Manchester United beat Arsenal when
Arsenal
Ryan
and
Giggs
the
scored
FA
that
Cup.
wonder goal.
I
I
think-
mean,
Yeah,
like,
that wonder goal.
and
Yeah,
I was actually I was in the north stand, so I was actually behind Ryan, so I could see Ryan Giggs, his
Yeah.
weaving, and I think like. And that intense, that game. I mean, when you're in the game, I didn't realize like at what point did Roy Keane get sent off, at what point did we concede the penalty and that great save by Schmeichel, and then then literally a few minutes before extra time. So there's it's just like, oh come on. I mean, at the end of the day, on one hand, people are wanting results. Okay, they're saying it's a result game. There's so much money involved in the game nowadays. And next hand, people are adapting because there's so much pressure on managers now because they're not getting time. So they're doing what they need to do to get results. And then they're then the media saying that, it's boring football.
Yeah, no, I mean, you made a very interesting point there, Amit, and I think there was a great kind of view what you just said there. Ryan Giggs running the whole length of the pitch on the left-hand side, dribbling past two defenders and
What a
netting that
goal.
goal in the top corner. Where do we see that again? When do we see like a brilliant run, in this season from a Premier League player? I mean, Mickey van der Ven did it in the Champions League against Copenhagen. There are very few moments of brilliance, from players. I mean, even if you just look at like goals of the month, when you think about goals of the month, when you look to the Sky Sports archives and you look at like 2008, even like in 2012 or 2006, absolute screamers. Players nowadays are just scared to take volleys, they're scared to have shots outside of the box because of fear of what the manager's saying. I think it was quite interesting actually. I was listening, and I think it was even Thomas Frank was saying recently in an interview, was like, I don't like players taking shots out of the box because it affects their XG. And we know Rohit loves an
Really?
XG.
Oh my
Stat.
No.
Did
Did
he
he
say
say this?
that?
Did he say this? Did he
Yeah,
say
he
actually
literally
said?
said like he literally
Wow.
said, and even if you
Oh
even if you
my
look at like
God.
even if you look at managers like Louis van Gaal, literally we're telling players like Rooney, I don't want you to shoot outside of the box. I want you to pass the ball into the net. And this was very Arsenal-esque as well, under the
Oldest Wenger,
under
yeah,
Wenger's
Arsene
reign.
Wenger, yeah.
Yeah, and at the end of Wenger's reign, it was pretty much you had the
Pretty
likes of
much that.
Ozil, Santi Cazorla,
Yeah.
you had Arshavin.
Yeah.
Arshavin scored beautiful goals against
Club,
Liverpool in
yeah,
that 4-4 game.
Yeah.
But they were very much like, let me just pass the ball in. And a big part of, I think, English football being a bit boring, and this is going to sound a bit controversial, and killing the game, is unfortunately Pep. Like, the style of play that Pep has brought into the Premier League has kind of ruined expansiveness in the game, unpredictability in the game, and a bit of kind of fear physicality, because he is a tactician person who loves possession-based and loves working the ball sideways and then trying to, stretch the team and wear them down via possession. I mean, how interesting and how, entertaining is it going to be watching a team hold the ball for 20 minutes, try to tick-a-tack their way into the goal? You want to see some tackles, you want to see some end-to-end stuff, you want to see basketball, football. Sometimes that's what people are paying their money for. You're paying 60, 70 quid for a ticket. You kind of want to be entertained. And I remember when we talked about a match day review, it was 3 p.m. kickoffs. There was 4, 5, 3 p.m. kickoffs. And I was laughing and I said, lads, it's been 5 games. There's only been 4 goals in these 5 games on a 3 p.m. kickoff. So it is getting a little bit boring, to be honest. If you really look at how many goals have been scored in this Premier League season, probably compared to previous. Now, whether or not that's just defenses getting better, is that just teams'
Yeah.
attacks are getting a lot
Yeah.
weaker because a lot of teams are now playing a lot more defensive, and the attackers nowadays, we don't have the right caliber of strikers compared to what we saw, like the likes of Didier Drogba, Hasselbank, and the likes of Berbatov and Van Nistelrooy.
But that
those real
started with Mourinho came in,
pedigree.
right? Where Mourinho
I
Chelsea
was literally, I was
started.
just about to say that.
That
Yeah.
started
Don't
since
you think
then.
it's
Yeah.
yeah? Don't you think it's boys? Don't you think it's that Ajay, I think you make a good point about Pep, but I think it's don't you think players are getting overcoached? And if you use Pep as an example, this season, if you look at how different Grealish is once he's the shackles are being let loose, and how he's performing at Everton. I know it's still early
Yeah.
days, and he started his career at Man City really well. But players are getting overcoached. There's no autonomy. There's no freedom to express themselves. And if you look at kind of the way Alex Ferguson kind of managed, and I'm sure Arsene Wenger, and even like more recently Carlo Ancelotti, he wasn't dictating to the players so much. There was basic tactics, basic coaching, but there wasn't drilling. You can't be more than 1 millimeter off this side and don't be passing it. You're just losing your. As any professional, in any field, you just want to. If you've got that confidence, you've got that ability, you want to spread your wings and fly. But if your wings if your arms are tied and your legs are tied and your feet are tied, you're not going to be able to perform to the best of your ability. And I think the other thing is, and again, it may be Pep's fault, this false nine, and the formations are now very different. Back in the day, early, end of the Championship, the First Division, and early years of the Premier League. It used to be typical 4-4-2. You used to have two wingers. Arsenal were the same. We were saying, you used to have Overmars and Lundberg or Perez.
Bergkamp and Henry, all the
Giggs and Kanchelskis, or Giggs and Beckham, or
Well, this is what I mean, isn't it? That if you have two strikers, the likelihood of you scoring more goals in a game is going to be higher, isn't it? Compared to if you've got 5 midfielders and 1 attacker, because the role of a midfielder isn't necessarily. You're not really meant to score as a midfielder. It's meant to set up the striker. It's meant to set up the.
But look at England's game today. Look at the 3 midfielders for England today. I think it's Rice,
Anderson, Rogers,
Anderson and Rogers. That's quite defensive. That's a very defensive.
Roger is playing 10, right? So we're playing 4-2-3-1, I think.
Yeah.
Which seems to be very common.
Common formation nowadays. Yeah. But if you see, but so sorry, if you say defensive, right? Arsenal's been known to 1-0 to the Arsenal. It didn't start in Premier era. It started before Premier League era. So defense was always there. It's just that the teams find out how best we can win or not lose. Nowadays, it's more about not lose first before we start winning. Before, and then that's how the setup is done to protect the team to not lose at the start, because maybe there's so much to lose nowadays with
so much pressure.
Pressure, managers don't get time. They get they have a pressure to somehow not lose.
I mean, even just a simple thing is like, it's a case of like you said, with the fouls, everything is a foul nowadays. So the game
everything is a foul.
Stopped a lot more.
A
lot more pulling of the shirt, the tiniest tackle, touch of the leg. So obviously players are a bit more afraid to kind of go on these runs, because obviously they're going to get fouled and they're not maybe built as strong. But obviously the intensity and probably the way that the speed of the game, I would say, is obviously increased over the last decade or so. So these players obviously likely to get more injured, but it is because they're doing a lot more sprints. They make a lot more runs. They make a lot more. They have to cover a lot more of the pitch than they used to. Back in the days, a striker wouldn't really go back into their own half. They're waiting for the ball to come to them. You never really see Berbatov, defending, his lines as much. He'd be like, no, I'm just going to stay up here. Let me wait for the ball. And it's just so these are things. Obviously, there's evolution of the game. Subjectively, if we can say, has it got a duller compared to? We're always going to look at the past with rose-tinted lenses, and we're always going to think
that's true.
The nostalgia of the glory days. When you see Wayne Rooney arguing with the referee, and all of a sudden the ball comes to him and he hits a volley
remember.
in his first game
And
with Man United. So
Yeah.
the thing is,
Yeah.
like, you're gonna look at
That's
yeah,
Ronaldo scoring how many free kicks has he scored against like Portsmouth? That beautiful free kick that went in the top right hand
yeah,
corner.
yeah.
You know, you're going to look at old goals and you're going to look at scenarios back in the
That's
days
very
and think
true.
the Premier League was so much better. It was so much more fluid. It was so much more like adventurous. And now we're in the system of players have to stay in their zones and have to do these kind of maneuvers. And if the ball's not well, recycle the ball. I mean, you know, when these are things and these are messages that the managers are training these players to act
that's
like
why
robots. They're acting like
robots.
robots, like you said. Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
said. This
Yeah.
is
So
This
control.
is to control. Is it that's why they're coming up with this new stats, right? XG or the
XG.
balls, you know, XG or the ball with how much forward running runs he score, you know, the player has done. But yeah.
Just to back up what I just said about rose tinted specs, that is very true. You know, I watched. I think it was the end of last year when Alex Ferguson's 99. I think it's called 99. The treble winning season. Documentary came out on Amazon Prime,
Amazon
and I
Prime
forgot
Video,
how
yeah.
awful Manchester United were up until Christmas. They were awful. Absolutely, there's so many issues going on. You know, there was kind of issues with Cole and York, and some personal issues as well. He got in trouble, and then then all of a
Sheringham,
sudden it just clicked.
yeah,
Yeah,
big things.
but
this
yeah,
is-
but the thing is, as you said, you forget. You
Yeah,
just
but
remember
then
the last. Your brain remembers the. You know, they always say there's something in business world you may have come across it called the peak end rule. You tend to remember the middle bit and the end bit, and everything else in the beginning and the end,
bit,
and everything else in the middle you
yeah.
tend to forget.
That's it.
Because, and then if you see this is how it's been, the title's been won anyway, right? So if you see this every year, whoever does better after Christmas normally wins the league, right? They always say, don't worry about now, this is just a, like, you know, the beginning or whatever you want to call it. But actually what happens after Christmas, it's always been like this since I've been here. Looking at the Premier League table, what are your thoughts in the say? What do you think when you see the table? What's coming up for you, Ajay, here?
Well, looking at the table, I mean, seeing Arsenal and Man City, you know, Arsenal at the top and City second, there's no shock there. You know, I'm surprised that obviously Arsenal have done as well as they've managed to do, to be fair. And their goals conceded, they've been excellent in the defence and they've been really good in attack. But I think, interestingly, Sunderland, top four, fantastic. You know, 11 games in, who would have thought a newly promoted side with 19 points, 5 wins, 4 losses, 2 losses and 4 draws.
Losses.
Fantastic.
Wow.
You know,
Only
I think
2
Sunderland
losses.
have been...
Wow.
Sunderland have been fantastic, yeah. I mean, they are literally, you know, they're flying and they've done some great investments. And we'll talk a little bit about the signings later. But honestly, you know, credit to the manager and credit to the team who've performed really well. And also even seeing, you know, Spurs and United in the top kind of 8. And we're above Liverpool, which is always great. So who'd have thought, you know, talking to Man U and Tottenham fans who were 15th and, so it was the 15th and 17th last season. And now we're in the top 8, you know, so, and how squished that table is.
It is.
Look at Arsenal at 26, they're kind of 26 are flying away, but 22 and then 17 points, that separates second and 10th. So that's literally 5-point difference. 2 wins in it could mean Palace could go second. You know, and they're already and they're on 10th. So this is ridiculous. You know how crazy it is, and this is why, you know, people have been saying, you know, this is for Man United especially to kind of grasp the situation, because it only takes 2-3 wins.
Exactly.
You're up there. You're up second, and we could have done that with Forest and Tottenham. So
but you can see how tight this is so far, right? We go 11 games in, and it's so tight. This is why every game is like a final. We need to win. We can't actually lose that game if we want to be at the top, as I'm talking about Arsenal. So Amit, looking at the table for you, right, what's shocking for you on this
Liverpool.
table?
No, genuinely, I'm not just saying it because I'm anti-man. But genuinely, you know, I said at the start of the season, did you know, that I thought my prediction was before the transfer window closed that if Liverpool sign Isak, I thought they were going to run away with the league, and it's just not. I'm happy because I don't want them to get 21 titles, but I'm absolutely amazed about what's coming out of Liverpool. And actually, what's more disappointing, there appears to be, as much as I rated Slot's leadership, you know, last year and the beginning of this year, there seems to be elements of his leadership that I mean, no one's ever going to be 100%, but there have been elements of his leadership that I'm beginning to question. If I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be beginning to question. So they for me have been the biggest shock.
So, Ajay, looking at the table as well, and obviously the summer transfer window, what's your top 3 best signings so far?
Fantastic. I was hoping you'd ask me that. So the top 3, I mean, okay, just purely because of impact and purely because of leadership skills and experience in the Premier League, I think that credit has to go to Granit Xhaka for Sunderland. I think that was an excellent acquisition from Sunderland. He captained the Bayer Leverkusen side to an undefeated German season. So he's got that caliber, that wealth of playing in a side who know how to win. And I think he's brought on those characters and that kind of leadership skill and that kind of composure to this Sunderland team. And I think it really shows like they've been playing some really good physical, aggressive football. And I think, all of that was showing when they played you guys and it was 2-2. I think that was an important point for Sunderland to kind of show like, look, we lost against United. We didn't turn up at Old Trafford, but we can hold Arsenal at our own stadium. So that's fantastic, So I think Granit Xhaka, 100%. And I think for Man United, I think Brian Mbeumo will probably be my second most influential signing, just because of the goals. I think he's on 5 goals already, and I think he's just really kind of taken to the United shirt. And it's sometimes really hard for new signings to wear the shirt and perform really well. So I think he started off his career fantastic for United. And then I probably would say that my third probably standout summer signing will probably be Jack Grealish for Everton. So I would probably say that, because like what we were just saying, the shackles have been released. He's got his playing time that he probably didn't get under Pep. And I think he's flourishing under Everton and giving them a new dynamic, which they were probably missing in their games, last season. So I think that, he's made Everton a lot better. And I think commendable signings obviously go to Arsenal, like I said, with Zubimendi being a fantastic signing. And, the likes of Eze, Madueke started off really well, but then obviously got injured. So I can't really comment too much. But yeah, I would put those as my top 3. I wouldn't put Gyökeres just yet. I don't know, because he's still got to show. He's still got a point to prove. But I don't think, what, we laughed and we said, this will be a summer for strikers and who's going to get the golden boot. But I would say that none of them have really clicked compared to like Haaland. Yeah.
Haaland, yeah.
So the strikers have unfortunately kind of gone a bit under the radar this season. Only just Haaland. So
Amit, what are your 3 best signings so far?
Yeah, I kind of disagree with Ajay, actually. I think he's probably nailed it. I can't, I think overall, I think Arsenal bought the best out of all the clubs, but I wouldn't say all your signings have been stand out. I think they've just been brilliant. They've been that vital piece of the jigsaw. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, they've been unlucky. They've been unlucky. Some have been injured, So it's not a criticism of Arsenal. I just think Arsenal, I mean, I think you said this at the start of the season, Rohit, that you're not buying individuals. You bought players for a team, a championship winning team,
for a squad.
And that shows.
Yeah.
And I think that shows. So I think Arsenal by far have done the best business, and ever since then, all your signings have done well, and they've started doing well when others have got injured. And in terms of individual players, I can't argue with the 3 that Ajay said.
Cool. So tell us your worst signings, 3 worst signings so far, Amit.
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Okay, again, it's going to sound like I'm against Liverpool. Genuinely, I'm not. I think Florian Wirtz has been poor, but again, I don't want to criticize him too much.
Florian Bag.
Florian Bag.
Yeah.
He's a young lad and he's come to a new culture, new environment.
We shouldn't say actually worst signings. So I mean, the signings haven't turned out so far. Yeah.
Oh, pish posh applesauce. Slate them. 120 million quid. Mate, he should get slated. The amount of bad press all our players have had in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, go for it. Go for it.
I agree with you, Ajay. Go for it, Amit. Yeah. Worst signing so far.
I'm gonna be fair to you. He's a young man, so I think I'll say Florian Wirtz. Isak again. Now again, it's probably not his fault, but again,
he hasn't had a chance.
When you consider the whole drama, the whole summer was basically all the back pages, or as you said in the day before, online, etc. But the back pages were heavily dominated by Willy, won't he? He comes on transfer deadline day just about, and then he's not match fit, then he gets injured. So not that he hasn't played to be dubbed the worst side, he's just been unfortunate so far. So I think he's been a disappointment. Again, some of it's kind of out of his control. The third one, not quite sure actually. I'm a bit stuck on that one. I'll see if I can think of another Liverpool one. I must
Okay.
say another Liverpool one.
I was gonna say
Go on, Ajay,
they
you
signed
take over.
five. They signed about 5 flops. The only person that's done good is Etikite. But yeah, no, 100%. I was obviously unfortunately the shop floor's out. I think everybody knows, obviously, with Florian Wirtz, he's not hit the ground running. I mean, he's literally on 0 goals, 0 assists in 11 games in the Premier League. It doesn't look good, and it's quite funny because if it was a Man United player, there'd be tabloids, there'd be newspapers, the whole hot press would be out, gunning for him, saying that this is horrible, what have United done? So I think he's being let off, but we'll leave it like that. But I think other players that should get a mention about not producing and not being productive in the summer window and promised quite a lot, certainly with like Anthony Elanga for Newcastle. He's not really hit the ground running at all, and I don't know if you guys watch much of Newcastle, but again, I think with Altamada, he's obviously
injured as well. Yeah.
Well, obviously they made they had Wissa from Brentford, and
he's injured
so
as well. Yeah,
he's not had a start, so he could be put in that category really. But under Elanga, he's had 11 starts, and again 0 goals and 0 assists. Another player that I would probably say that I've spoke about before was Xavi Simons, and we had Alex obviously on the podcast last week talking about him, that again he's just not quite fit in. Is he kind of struggling with the pace of the Premier League? We could also talk about Sesko again for United, not being hitting the ground running. Has obviously scored 2 goals and got 1 assist, but maybe not kind of. He's turning into maybe another Højlund, where he's kind of going missing in big games and he's not really getting the service. So
he's not getting the service though, Jay.
Yeah,
I said this at the start.
But
you can have the best striker in the world if you're not getting the service.
If you're not getting service. But I have a
for
superstition.
70 million. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine, Ajay. You know what? 70 million. If you finish that, then I'll tell.
Well, I would just say is that for the price tag, I mean, obviously we bought Højlund for something similar as well. But when you look at the front three,
and then Buemo, you think more creativity and more kind of fluidness in between the front three. And usually with Amarin's kind of 3-4-3 system is built around kind of feeding in the attackers and kind of getting that play there. You can call it counter-attack, or you can call it kind of dynamic transitional play. I was hoping that he would get more opportunities than he has at the moment, because with Højlund it was quite documented. Wingers weren't crossing the ball in. But now you've got wingers that should be crossing the ball in for him. So I just kind of feel like he could be better. Again, with Tottenham Hotspurs, he had one chance where he could have gone through on goal, and he really just didn't look like he was confident in scoring. So I've been a bit disappointed with him. But yeah, sorry, Rohit, you can carry on.
So boys, I have a superstition, right? You guys know, because we all follow cricket, how superstitious we are. So that goes with football as well for me. And I always believe the players, especially strikers, who don't start well, they actually do better later on. The strikers who actually do really good at the start, start scoring goals in the first game or so, they tend out to be the worst signings ever. Again, this is just my superstitious, there's nothing there, just me being superstitious. But let's see how strikers come out. That's why, I was happy when Gyökeres wasn't scoring early on. I was thinking, yeah, that's fine. It's my superstition. He will come good. So don't worry about Sesko. He's a good signing. He's young as well. But we wanted him as well.
So therefore,
I know,
If Manchester United, Arsenal and Liverpool fans all going to be hoping that you're right, because that'll be Isak, Gyökeres, although he's had a decent start, and Sesko are all going to come good.
I think
Haaland, watch out. They're after you.
But if you see Isak, he's really good. He's just injured, isn't it? We have to put some context behind it as well, right? So he's injured. Anyway, so boys, before we sign off this episode, I would like you to tell me, who would you like to sign in January transfer window? Amit, who would you like to sign for Manchester United?
Ivan Toney, striker. I think we need an experienced striker. He's got experience, and he's obviously he's in is he in Saudi Arabia? Oh no,
yes,
not Saudi Arabia.
He's
in Saudi Arabia, and I think he's like you criticize the league, but he's still finding the back of the net, so he's doing what he's paid to do, which is score goals. I think him bringing him back to the Premier League will be good, and it may boost his chance of getting in the England squad if he came in January, because it's still 6 months to go. I would like to see a creative midfielder, but I think the kind of creative midfielder, or a number 6, or the kind of midfielder that we need is going to be big money. So that may be something that we have to wait for in the summer.
Ajay, who would you like to sign for United?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few names that have been thrown around. I think we've been linked with Conor Gallagher with Atletico Madrid, so he might be maybe a realistic target to kind of get. I know we've been linked to the likes of Adam Wharton and Elliot Anderson, who have been kind of midfield targets. Obviously, there's Carlos Baleba, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get that in January, whether or not they're going to be more summer targets. But I think somebody like Conor Gallagher could be a good shout. And there's obviously another Bundesliga player, Angelo Stiller, who plays for Stuttgart, VB Stuttgart. And again, he's somebody that I think Amorim really, kind of admires and prefers as well. Somebody who's quite dynamic and got the ability to do short passing, long passing, and break up play. So we just need a good midfielder, to be fair. And probably if Sesko is injured and he had this knee injury after Tottenham, we do need a striker. And we can't call back Rasmus Højlund. So somebody like Ivan Toney would be a fantastic, I think, signing as well, just to kind of poach and score goals. That's what we need.
Yeah, there was rumors, isn't it, today on Twitter saying lots. I was on Sky Sport or something. Lots of clubs are after Tony. Let's see who signs.
Surprising, isn't it?
Surprising.
I was surprised he left in the first place. I mean, but remember, he's 29. He's 29, so if he's got probably he was in the England setup before he went to Saudi. So it's probably the last chance for him to kind of represent his country, England, at a World Cup. What about you, Lloyd? Who would you like?
Point. Yeah, I think I probably like Semenyo from Bournemouth, a winger, or maybe and Toney as well as a striker.
You've
two
got
of them.
Too many wingers. Well, how many more wingers do you want?
Man,
you can't play 5 wingers.
We look at the 6 of our forward players were injured, right? I'm just shaping up for our injuries, right? I'm hoping no one gets injured, but if somebody gets injured, likely they will get injured because there are so many games every 3 days, 2 days, and then there's so much intensity during the games. So Semenyo and Toney for me, if we can sign anyone. Toney may be on loan because I don't think we'll be able to afford the wages because he's getting top wages in Saudi wherever he's playing. But I think he might be on loan, but Semenyo might be the signing. Let's see. Okay, guys. Let's sign off this episode. We'll be back soon with another episode. We need to still talk about Pep, Wenger, and Klopp's 1,000 games and Mourinho's 1,000 games, and who will get sacked? And Fergie. Did I say Fergie?
No, don't forget.
I didn't say Fergie.
No,
Did I? Okay.
I'll never let that one slip. You know that. I will never let that
So
slip.
we will talk about
That's
Fergie, Wenger, Klopp, Pep, and Mourinho's 1,000 games in charge. We will review that, and then we will also talk about who will get fired. That will be in the next episode. So guys, if you haven't subscribed us, please subscribe us and follow us on the social media channels. The link is in the description. Take care, stay safe, and bye for now.